But it took only one B-29, the Enola Gay, to close that chapter in human history.
75 years after the U.S. dropped atomic bombs in Japan during World War II, Hiroshima on August 6 and Nagasaki on August 9th, survivors of the A-bomb are still suffering from the effects. While the U.S. said it used the weapon to end the war quicker and prevent the loss of American lives, the atomic bombs killed an estimated 120,000 people in Hiroshima and 74,000 in Nagasaki. Michiko Kodama, then a child, said she saw a girl with her face half burned.
The girl collapsed, and I think she probably passed away. I don't know. But even now, when I speak about her, I almost cry. It's the girl's sad, sad eyes.
The memory of that day is seared on the minds of survivors like Kodama. But it's not just the traumatic memories they carry, but health problems as well. The Radiation Effects Research Foundation is a joint U.S. and Japanese institute that examines the effect of radiation on survivors to this day.
Cancer is the primary risk for radiation after the atomic bombings.
That's Chief of Research Robert Ulrich.
Leukemia is a very rare disease, but there was a significant and kind of a big effect of the exposure for an increased risk for leukemia, for certain types of leukemia, over the first few years after exposure.
Ulrich says due to the radiation, the survivors who are now mostly in their 80s and 90s are prone to cancers like breast and lung cancer. About 30% of the original 120,000 survivors who participated in the Research Foundation Lifespan Study are still alive. The study has led to safe radiation limits in hospitals around the world and used by NASA to determine radiation limits for space exploration. Despite the global contributions, Ulrich says survivors were treated more like data than like people during the early phase of the research right after the war.
They weren't treated, with care and with humanity as much as they should have been.
A-bomb survivors, or hibakusha, were often discriminated against. It was hard to get married as a survivor for fear they would pass radiation to the next generation. Though current research doesn't show strong evidence that radiation is passed down, there was job discrimination and fears that somehow the radiation was contagious, but it wasn't.
In my heart, I still feel hurt from the discrimination. That is what sits the heaviest in my heart.
At 82 years old, Kodama continues to share her story so future generations will remember the horrific long-term effects of the A-bomb. She says her suffering is far from over.
Nuclear weapons aren't gone. Nuclear weapons that made us suffer for decades still exist. So to me, the war isn't over.
Kat Sandoval, Newsy.